Hey, today we're going to talk to you about how to sustain a healthy sex life after kids. We all know that when you have kids, how they can just take your time, your energy, and just drain you to where you're just not there for your spouse. We'd like to give you hope and give you some things that we think can help you to restore that intimacy between you and your spouse. Hey, I'm Mitch.
And I'm Kim at Keeping the Vows. We want to help you discover and maintain a Christ-like marriage. So the question that was submitted to us is the same as the title of this video. How can you sustain a healthy sex life after kids?
Yeah. You know, Kim and I were with a couple, and we were surprised when we heard her say, if I never had sex again, it wouldn't bother me. And I didn't know whether to feel more sorry for her or for her husband. I decided to feel more sorry for her. That was just my take on it. But anyway, the kids are the culmination of love between a husband and wife, and I've always believed there's nothing that'll pull your marriage apart more than those kids. They take your time, they take your energy, they take just your resources, your hormones change for a woman. Everything just gets changed. The world gets turned upside down. You know, when you get married, you think, what could prepare me for living with somebody 24/7? Well, what could prepare you for bringing another person into your life either? So if you stop and think about it, your kids can also work at just dividing you too, at taking and pulling you apart. How many times have you heard a kid go ask mom, hey, can I do something? They say no, and they go to dad and ask the same questions. So they're going to work at dividing us too, and maybe intentionally, maybe not, but it seems like that happens.
So let's start with a godly perspective. Sex wasn't created in a dark alley behind a bar. It's God's creation, and it's His blessing to us as a married couple. In Genesis 1:27 and 28, we learn that God's intention is for it to be His blessing. And in the Song of Solomon, it's clear that God intended for sex to be for our enjoyment and for recreation. And probably one of the biggest things that Mitch and I learned is that our bodies are not our own. My body belongs to Mitch, and his body belongs to me.
Yeah.
And this is one of the ultimate ways of God teaching us not to be selfish.
Yeah, it really is.
Remember that God ordained marriage as the only relationship where two can be one flesh. You're not one flesh with your kids, your parents, or anybody else, only with your spouse. So as a married couple, remember that your kids came to live with you. You didn't go to live with your kids. Your kids are going to leave someday, and if you do it right, then you and your spouse are going to have a healthy relationship, and you will have modeled a healthy marriage for them.
That's good. That's good. It's true. Also, I want to talk to you about evaluating your expectations. A lot of times we bring expectations into something, and when they don't get fulfilled, we're hurt, when in reality, maybe they weren't even realistic expectations anyway. Just to show you a flawed one, when I first got married, I thought, well, okay, I'm getting married. I get to have sex every night for 2 years. Okay, if you stop and think about it, pretty self-centered, right? And not a realistic expectation. But also our expectations oftentimes leave our spouse out of it. So if I want to have sex every night for 2 years, where was Kim in that equation? Where was her in that expectation? Nowhere around. It was all about me. And when my expectations didn't get met, then I felt like, I was the loser in the deal, when in fact, I just wasn't thinking straight. So we all need to make sure that we do that. If a man thinks his wife is a cold fish, it just means he does not understand women. And if the woman thinks that all her husband wants is sex, that just means that she does not understand men. She doesn't understand them at all. But one of the things is that with expectations is that men and women just see things different. It's been said that a woman needs a reason to have sex. She's relational, as to where a man just needs a place to have sex, and barely a place, really, for a man to have sex. So we're just totally different like that.
Yeah. A woman needs to know that she's loved and secure.
Yeah.
And if she feels as though her husband values her, then she's going to be more willing to give her body to her husband and open up to him. And, I know that Mitch is crazy in love with me, so that just makes me want to respond to him all the more. So husbands, make sure your wives know how much you love them, and that will help them to open up to you.
Yeah. Also, women, you got to understand that a man is visual. That makes us a caveman. I'm sorry, there's no excuse for it. We're just visual. God made us so that when we saw our wife, we responded and we desired her. So if a man sees his wife at some stage of undress, he's aroused and he's ready to have sex. Most generally, that's just how men are. So if you've had an argument in the morning, just to show you how different the two sexes are, if you've had an argument in the morning and you're not speaking, but that night you're getting ready for bed, still didn't resolve the issue, and the woman is at some stage of undress, the man sees it, he's aroused, he's ready to have sex, and she's not. But if she goes ahead and has sex with him, she feels no different than a prostitute. And I preached that, and I've seen a whole sea of women's heads going like this. And men don't understand the difference between men and women. So men tend to be cavemen at figuring these things out. I've actually preached that and had women come up to me afterwards and just squeeze my hand in a way of saying, thank you for helping my husband understand that I'm not like him, I am different, and help him to understand me better. Yeah.
You know, as men and women, our expectations are so different that we really need to take the time to get to know and understand each other, and that's going to take communication on both of your parts. And if communication is something that you have trouble with, you might want to check out our Safe Time video. Another thing about communication is the way you look at sex is going to be affected a lot by the way you were raised. You know, is this something that your family talked about when you were growing up, or did they not talk about it, so you got the feeling like it was, you know, something to be hidden? So that relates into it also. There's one common obstacle here for the woman as far as having kids, and that's tiredness. When you have a baby, that takes a lot out of you, and then just being a parent takes a lot out of you. And women, I would just like to encourage you here to make your husband a priority. The way your husband sees himself, his self-esteem is tied a lot into how he feels as a lover. And so it's very important that you make time for him. It's so easy when your children are little to put all your time into them and make them your priority. But I found that Mitch and our intimacy increased whenever I realized that he didn't care if the house was all cleaned up and perfect. He would rather have me take a nap when the kids were laying down, so that I had the energy to give to him, whether it was for being intimate or just communicating. I had the energy for him.
Yeah, and people ask us, they said, if you could go back and do it all over, would you? And we both say, no, it is a lot of work. Everything is a lot of work. But there is one thing I would do different where I was really, really wrong. When our kids were small, we lived on a farm, and Kim was a housewife, didn't work outside the home, but she had 3 kids. And I was a caveman in that I would come in and think, well, I've been working all day. What have you been doing? Why aren't you here for me? That was really my mentality. And you know what? I was dead wrong. I couldn't be more wrong. If I could go back and do it over, the one thing I would do different is I would be there for Kim, and I would help her with the kids and things. It's interesting how far I progressed, because now we watch our grandkids 2 days a week, and I am so much different person with her in helping with meals and helping with change diapers and take the dirty diapers out, and just everything that I can do. The diaper's blown out, I'll give the kid a shower or a bath. You know, I do so many things that I never used to do because I've just changed, and I realized that I was wrong in that. So guys, there's a lot more to that, especially if your wife works outside the home yet too. I don't even see how you do it. It's like Wonder Woman thing. Anyway, something that we learned that was kind of fun. Kim and I love to study. We love to learn. We just always will be learning, and so give us comments. We love to learn from you. But one thing we learned about sex was just do it. This lady wrote an article, and it said that her husband and her both found out that whenever they get involved in sex, there's a level of enjoyment for either one of them, for both of them. But the issue is just getting going in it. So they just came up with a philosophy, just do it, okay? And so whenever one of them wants to, they just do it, and both of them find it rewarding. And it's like Kim said too, you know, my body isn't mine, it's hers. So if she wants to, then, you know, we both have a level of enjoyment, even if we're tired or something like that. And so once you get started, there's a level of enjoyment in there for you. And so adopt the just do it philosophy. And thank you, Nike. Appreciate that. It's the best thing you've ever done. Thank you.
Husbands, put a lock on your bedroom door. If your wife is concerned that the kids might walk in, she's not going to be in the mood.
Ain't going to happen, guys.
We both think the lock on the bedroom door is more important than the lock on the front door.
Yep.
And from the time our kids were little, we lock our bedroom door every single night, whether we have any romantic intentions or not. And our house is empty now, no kids there, but we still lock our bedroom door every night.
Yeah. Also, another thing too is if you've ever been raped or sexually abused, you need to tell your spouse about it, and you need to go get help for that. I had a woman come to me who had been molested by her brother for 4 years as an early teenager, and she was married, and she just didn't. She dreaded having sex, and she didn't enjoy it because she felt guilty all the time. she came to me. There's a 3-step process I do for forgiveness, which really worked. And she actually wrote me an email. Her husband came up and thanked me at church and just shook my hand and says, thank you. And later they moved out of the area and she wrote me a snail mail thanking me. But her husband would have paid the price for what her brother did to her for the rest of his life. As it was, we set her free to enjoy this gift of God. And it was just the right thing to do. So we've actually been doing premarital counseling and told people this, and the bride will look at her fiance and say, I need to tell you I've been raped. And we need to, they need to go get good counseling care for that and get that taken care of. Get that wound healed so you can have a healthy sex life. Another thing you need to do too is you need to work on yourself. Kim and I cannot have the best possible marriage unless each of us are the best possible version of ourselves, which means I have to be the best me I can be, and she has to be the best she that she can be before us to do that. And there's no one else out there right now having a meeting on how to make Mitch or Kim a better person. It's something you have to go and you have to work at yourself. And this isn't an escalator, it's a stairway. You crawl up it and you learn as you do that. And so probably the biggest issue of marriage counseling is people that come in and think, I just need to work on their spouse. So untrue. Never 100% one person's fault. Even the person that messes up in the relationship, what did the other person do to maybe push them in that direction or help them in that direction? So work on yourself is something that's important. Another thing too I want to talk to you about is something I call it'll be okay. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe your schedule's busy. Maybe your kids are little. There is light at the end of the tunnel. This might be a season in life, and there's all different types of seasons. Life changes as we go along. It's not uncommon for the man to be the aggressor, and then for the woman at about age 40 to turn around and become the aggressor. And so that's pretty wild. That'll spin your head around, guys. Yeah, that'll mess you up. And Kim said she remembered the first time when she wanted to and I was too tired. And I thought, well, gee, after 20 years, this is the first time I know what this feels like. But, we need to be there for each other and be strong for each other in that way. I also read where one time it said that sex is better after 30 years. And Kim and I have been married about 28 years, and I went and asked her, and she goes, yeah. And I think it's only good that after, the kids are getting pretty well grown and everything, and you've got that oneness, you've got that intimacy, you've got that interdependence built up within yourself, that sex is more than the physical. If I were to have sex with another woman, it would be physical, and it wouldn't mean anything. But with Kim, there's an intimacy because we've been through so much together. When we were going to go to California, to marry our son and daughter-in-law. And at 3 a.m, I woke up and she was in the bathroom and she was sick. And I got up and went to Kroger and got the Jell-O and made it and the Sprite or 7-Up, whatever. And, we're the only ones that remember that and take that times 1,000. And it makes that intimacy even more special.
Mm-hmm. If you want more help on this subject, we recommend the book Sheet Music by Kevin Lehman. When we do premarital counseling, this is something that we ask all of our couples to purchase because it's very detailed. It will tell you whatever you want to know, a lot more information than we're going to give you here.
Yeah, and it's a very thorough book, and there's a place in it where he even says that if you're, after 3 or 4 chapters, if you're not married, wait now until after you're married to read on. And we know this really sweet couple we did premarital counseling for, good friends of ours, and they got married and they had read so far and stopped. And then afterwards, after they got married, they were driving to their honeymoon and she was sitting in the truck reading the book out loud to him. And I think that's a little bit crazy and a little bit cute, but I just thought it was pretty neat that funny and cool both together. You're going to have some links at the bottom here, different things. One is about allegiance. Make sure you keep your allegiance to your spouse instead of your kids. We've got a video on that. And also safe time, you're going to find that beneficial. Safe times for people that build up walls in their relationship, how to knock them down. And I'll tell you, things that you can't talk about are walls. And there's things about sex that most people just can't talk about. Safe time will help you to knock those down. And also you'll find a link on how to purchase the book Sheet Music. So we'd invite you to do that. It's an affiliate link. If you buy it, it doesn't cost you a penny more, but we make a little bit. You help support our ministry. So we thank you for that. We want to thank you for watching, and hopefully this has been helpful to you. Make sure you check out our blog at keepingthevows.com, and please comment or ask questions. We'd love to answer your questions. It's how we stay relevant, is by hearing what's on your mind. Okay? Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Appreciate you do that, and we hope you have a great day. Hey, I'm Mitch.
And I'm Kim at Keeping the Vows, where we're helping you maintain, helping people discover and maintain a Christ-like marriage.
Do we start over?
Maybe.
There's lots of information in it. It's even good that if people are reading it and they're not married, after about 3 chapters or 4, he says, okay, stop here until you get married. And we had this really sweet couple. We were doing premarital